Hi guys, you catch up with me today at home rather than on the riverbank. I've been meaning to make this video for about a year now, just to help out people who are in the same position as I was regarding these fellas, worms, and more specifically lobworms. I was struggling for a reliable supply of lobworms. Local tackle shops would often be sold out, couldn't get hold of any. So in the end I decided to buy by mail order. That was my only choice really. Now those of you who buy stuff from online bait companies, which it's great, but you'll know that the postage can be quite a lot of money. Now I don't think they're not ripping you off or anything, it's just that to post this stuff costs money. Now if you're only going to buy say 10 lobworms, the postage can be prohibitive sometimes. So what I decided to do was buy in bulk, buy say 100 lobworms at a time to last me a season. That's great from the postage point of view. It negates the postage, especially if you buy a couple of bags of ground bait perhaps at the same time, or some dead baits or something. But you've got to keep them, obviously. Now I did some research before I bought any, and what I read was really putting me off. It's difficult, especially lobworms, they're not easy to keep, etc, etc, etc. Now I thought I'd have a go just with some few bits I've got lying around here, and to be honest with you, it's been very successful. So what I'm going to do is just run you through how I keep my worms, and I've kept worms like this for 9 months or a year, happily. So I'm going to run you through now the gear that you need to keep your own lobworms. So guys, just to reiterate, this is how I do it. It's not necessarily a definitive way, it's the way I do it, and it works. I can guarantee that. Now what you'll need is some cardboard. I use just a cardboard box. Now I'm quite specific about the cardboard I use. I don't know if it makes a difference, but I do like to use cardboard without writing, without any dyes or anything in it, just cardboard. And what you'll need to do is rip it up or cut it up into squares about that sort of size. You'll need a few cardboard boxes. You'll need some of this stuff, moss. We all know how good it is keeping worms in this stuff, and I use this and the cardboard as a medium to keep them in. That's all I use. The container I use, as I said, I do tend to buy them sort of 100 at a time and keep them for a season, is one of these. Now this is a large hand wash bucket. It's been cleaned out thoroughly. Obviously you don't want any hand wash left in there. And I can keep 100 lobworms in here very happily for, like I say, 9 months, a year. I run out before they die, put it that way. And at last count it was at least 9 months. So, as you can imagine, it's fairly straightforward. You take your cardboard, you rip it up into your squares, you take your moss, and now I'm very lucky because my garden is north facing, and that corner down there of our lawn is covered in this stuff. We can't get rid of it. So I'm very lucky, but if you haven't got moss in your garden, you can go to a wood. If you go to a forest, it will be on the floor. Anywhere damp, that's permanently damp, you'll find this stuff. I don't know what sort of moss this is. This is just what grows in my garden, and it works really well. And all you do is layer up, layer up, layer up, and then damp it down. What I tend to do is when I'm first making a box is layer it up, perhaps to actually full back here, with moss and cardboard, just alternating the layers. And I'll fill it up with water and leave it for maybe 5 minutes to all soak in. Then with the lid on, just cracked open, just turn it upside down at an angle there, and just let all the water drain out that you can. Because there's some golden rules that I picked up off the internet that I stick to, and they've done me okay. I haven't contravened them, so I don't know if they're gospel, but they are golden rules according to the internet. The first one of those being, you've got to keep them damp. Now obviously in this, they're going to stay damp without a problem at all. With the lid on, obviously you're going to have to pierce some holes in the lid to let them breathe, let the oxygen in, but this will stay damp. The second golden rule is, you need to keep this at a constant 5.5, 6.5 degrees, something like that, which is where you need to put it in the fridge. Now I am very lucky in that I'll have a bait fridge, something I purchased. I keep it in the shed, because clearly putting that in your fridge in your kitchen, you're going to struggle. But you know, you haven't got to use something this big. You can use something smaller, put less worms in it. Use perhaps a 5 litre pot, even something like this. You know, you get the added benefit of being able to eat all the chocolates first. You know, you put something like that in your fridge without taking up too much space. The important thing as well is, as I say, to keep them at a constant temperature, 5.5, 6.5 degrees. To that end, I put a thermometer in the fridge so I can keep an eye on the temperature and make sure it stays at a constant temperature. And my wormery that's in my fridge stays in there. I only take it out, take a few worms out and put it back in. I'll just go and grab it now and show you. This is the one I've just taken out of the fridge. Don't want to keep it out too long. Lid on the top, as I said, a few holes poked in there to get some air in. And these worms have been in here probably around about 6 months, I would say, something like that. If you spin down, you'll see. You dig a few out. Here they are, all nice and happy, as you can see. See them in here. Now you can see all this, what looks like soil. That is actually worm casts. They're clearly in here. They're clearly munching away on the moss, or maybe even on the cardboard, as you can probably see as well. The only thing I really feed them is potato peelings. Perhaps a couple of times a month, you know, every couple of weeks, I put maybe 2 of these in, that's all, for them to munch away on. And that's all I feed them. You just got to make sure you keep it damp but not wet. Obviously, if it's wet, then at the bottom you're going to have puddles and it's not going to be good for your worms at all. But these fellas are nice and healthy and happy, as you can see. Right, let's get them back in the fridge. Like I say, I don't want to warm them up too much, and we'll go into the golden rules. So as I say, these are rules that I picked off the internet, and I've stuck by them and they've stood me in good stead, I have to say. As I said, the first one is those guys need to stay at 6 degrees, give or take. Temperature fluctuation is not good for them at all. You've got to keep them at a constant temperature. Another golden rule, which I picked up, as I say, off the internet, is not to mix worm types. The lobworms go in there and they stay in there, and nothing else goes in there. No other worm types, just lobworms. I'm sure you could do this with dendrobinas or redworms perhaps, although if you've got a compost heap like I have, you know, I've got a ready supply of redworms in there. I don't need to sort of keep them. When I want them, they're in the compost heap, I can go and get them. Now the other thing is, obviously when you're taking your worms out to go fishing, unless it's winter, they're going to warm up when you take them out. So what I do is, here I have a separate box, just a bait box, which I take my worms fishing in. Now I only ever take fishing what I think I'm going to use, and when I bring some back, I do not put them back in that box up there that's in the fridge. They stay in here, and this goes in the fridge. It's just got some moss in, that's all. They'll live certainly for a few weeks in here without any trouble at all, and by which time I'll probably have used them and I'll keep topping up. But I'll never put these back in there. I think the reason is that perhaps if they die, or they start to turn, or they start to go off a little bit, it sort of goes through the whole lot and they'll all die off. That's my understanding. But I never put these back in there, and that stood me in good stead, certainly. So if you stick to the golden rules like I have mentioned, constant temperature, never returning worms back into the wormery in the fridge, and never mixing worm types, keep them damp and feed them very, very occasionally. You can buy proprietary worm food, but I don't bother. Like I say, I put a couple of potato peelings in there, the odd bit of eggshell, and that's it. Leave them alone. That's the best thing you can do for them, and they'll be happy, absolutely happy in there. And you know, digging through to get your worms out is no bother at all. Just a quick dig through. As you see, they're all spread around the place. You got a few worms to go fishing. Take perhaps 5 or 6 with me to go for a short roving session, and the rest of the guys live in there. They, as I said, they're about 6 months old, and they will. It's September now. They will stay happily in there till March, till the end of the season. No, I have no doubts about that at all. So I hope you found this useful, not just for fishing, perhaps for For other things, perhaps you keep worms for other reasons, but that's how to keep lobworms fresh for months and months, if not years. It's just starting to rain, as you can probably see here. So next time I'll see you, I'll be on the bank. So until then, tight lines.